15 years of sweat, grease, and missed birthdays for a daughter who only ever wanted me home. I wasn't just a chef. I was the ghost fixing every disaster Deborah's golden boy nephew created. They thought I was disposable. They thought I'd take the fall and fade away. But they forgot one thing. A kitchen only runs because of the person they just fired. And I'm about to turn up the heat until their empire burns to the ground. Welcome to my channel. I urge you to sit tight and enjoy this wonderful story of revenge with shock. Chapter 1. The kitchen smelled like burnt oil and desperation when I walked in that Friday evening. 5:30 hit, and the dinner rush was about to slam us. I touched the counter where my daughter's drawing sat under plastic wrap, a stick figure of me holding a spatula with the words, "Best Dad," scrawled in purple crayon. My chest tightened. Rain was 7, waiting at home with the babysitter I could barely afford. Deborah stood by the prep station, arms crossed, her face twisted in that expression I'd learned to dread. Her nephew Josh slouched against the walk-in cooler, scrolling through his phone while 2 line cooks scrambled to finish prep work he should have completed hours ago. "Dexter," Deborah snapped, her voice cutting through the clatter of pots. Josh dropped the Henderson catering order. Again, my stomach dropped. The Hendersons were our biggest client, a law firm that ordered lunch spreads 3 times a week. Their order was supposed to be ready by 6 for a partner meeting. "What happened?" I asked, already moving toward the order sheet. "Does it matter?" Deborah's eyes were ice. "Fix it, or we lose the account." Josh didn't even look up from his phone. I noticed the order sheet crumpled on the floor, splattered with what looked like marinara sauce. My hands gripped the counter edge until my knuckles went white. The fryer hissed behind me, oil popping like tiny explosions. Deborah turned away, leaving me standing there with 45 minutes to rebuild an order for 30 people. 3 weeks earlier, I'd covered for Josh on a Saturday morning. Rain had her soccer game that afternoon, the first one I'd promised to attend all season. I'd marked it on the calendar in red marker, circled it twice. She'd reminded me every day that week, her gap-toothed smile lighting up whenever she talked about it. "Dad, you're coming, right? Coach says I might start." "Wouldn't miss it, sweetheart." But Josh called in sick that morning. I knew he wasn't sick because I'd seen his Instagram story from some beach party the night before, red plastic cup in hand, grinning like he didn't have responsibilities. Deborah called me at 7 in the morning. "Dexter, I need you to cover the breakfast shift." Josh has food poisoning. Food poisoning from beer, apparently. I worked that entire shift, watching the clock tick past Rain's game time. My phone buzzed with a photo from my sister, Rain in her uniform, holding the participation trophy they gave everyone. Her smile looked forced, her eyes scanning the crowd for a father who wasn't there. I scrubbed tables until my fingers wrinkled, grease caked under my nails. Around 2 o'clock, Deborah walked Josh through the kitchen, her arm around his shoulder. "He's such a natural," she announced to everyone. "Real talent in this one." Josh hadn't cooked a single dish that met health code standards in the 6 months he'd worked there. The Henderson order couldn't fail. I yanked open the walk-in cooler, cold air hitting my face like a slap. The chicken breast Josh was supposed to marinate still sat in its packaging, completely raw. The vegetable tray he should have prepared was just loose produce in crates. I grabbed everything, arms loaded, and kicked the cooler door shut with my heel. The clock mocked me, 5:43. The other cooks glanced over, sympathy in their eyes, but they had their own stations to manage. My hands moved automatically, muscle memory from 15 years of kitchen work taking over. I seasoned the chicken with one hand while firing up 2 burners with the other. Garlic, rosemary, lemon. The aromatics filled the air. I diced vegetables so fast the knife became a blur. Sweat dripped into my eyes. The kitchen heat wrapped around me like a suffocating blanket, but I kept moving. Plate, arrange, garnish. I could do this in my sleep. At 5:58, I plated the last sandwich. The catering boxes sat lined up, perfect and professional. My shirt was soaked through, my lower back screaming from bending over the cutting board. Josh walked past, saw the completed order, and grinned. "See, Aunt Deborah? I told you it would get done." Deborah clapped him on the shoulder in front of everyone. "Good recovery, Josh. That's what I like to see." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted copper. Chapter 2. Chef Raymond found me in the dry storage room during my break, sitting on an overturned bucket, trying to catch my breath. Raymond was the sous chef, a man in his 60s with hands scarred from decades of kitchen work. He'd trained under real masters in New Orleans and somehow ended up here, managing this chaos. "Kid," he said softly, closing the door behind him. The fluorescent light hummed above us. "You can't keep doing this." "Doing what?" "Covering for him. Let her take credit away from you." He sat down on a flour bag, his knees cracking. "You've got the skill. You've got the eye. I've watched you turn disasters into masterpieces more times than I can count. What am I supposed to do?" "She's the manager." Raymond pulled out his phone, an old model with a cracked screen. "Document everything. Every time you fix his mistakes, every time she praises him for your work. Photos, timestamps, everything. Why? Because talent can't be hidden forever, Dexter. And neither can incompetence." His voice was warm, fatherly. My own dad had died when I was 19, and sometimes Raymond filled that void. She can't fire talent without consequences. Eventually, someone's going to notice. Through the small window in the door, I saw Deborah watching us. Her eyes narrowed. "Be careful," Raymond added, following my gaze. Tuesday afternoon, I caught Josh lying to a customer. The woman had ordered a gluten-free pasta dish, clearly marked on her ticket. I watched Josh grab regular pasta, dump it in boiling water, and plate it with our standard marinara. "Josh," I called over the music blaring from his phone speaker. "That order's gluten-free." He waved me off. "It's fine. She won't know the difference. She has celiac disease. You could send her to the hospital." He rolled his eyes, that same entitled smirk I'd seen 100 times. I grabbed the plate before he could send it out, dumped it, and started over with the proper ingredients. The gluten-free pasta took longer to cook, which meant the customer waited an extra 10 minutes. When she complained about the delay, Deborah blamed me for inefficient time management. After the shift, Angela, one of the line cooks, cornered me by the time clock. She was a single mom like me, though her kids were older, already in high school. "Dexter, you need to wake up," she whispered, glancing around to make sure no one heard. "Deborah won't touch Josh. Ever. She'll fire you before she admits he's incompetent." The kitchen's clatter seemed to echo louder in my ears. Pots clanging, music playing, the dishwasher's endless rumble. The world felt like it was mocking me. "I'm disposable," I said, the realization hitting like cold water. Angela squeezed my shoulder. "Yeah, you are. Unless you do something about it." Friday night rush hit like a freight train. Orders flooded in, tickets printing faster than we could read them. The heat from the grills made the kitchen feel like a sauna. My chef's coat stuck to my back, and my hands moved automatically. Sauté, flip, plate, garnish. Josh was supposed to be handling appetizers. Instead, he was in the back, FaceTiming someone, laughing while the ticket printer screamed for attention. I jumped between my station and his, trying to keep both lines moving. A shrimp cocktail went out with the wrong sauce. Josh's mistake, but my station was closer. "Dexter." Deborah's voice boomed across the kitchen. Everyone froze. "What is this?" She held up a plate, shrimp arranged perfectly, but with cocktail sauce instead of the garlic aioli the customer ordered. That wasn't. "This is amateur hour. Do you even read the tickets?" My cheeks burned. The other cooks stared at their stations, afraid to make eye contact. Josh stood in the corner, smirking, completely oblivious to the chaos he'd created. "I'm sorry," I managed. "I'll remake it." "You're damn right you will." Deborah slammed the plate down. "I expect better from you, Dexter. You're supposed to be setting an example." The fryer sizzled. Knives clattered against cutting boards. That night, walking to my car, memories hit me like punches. Late nights scrubbing floors while Rain slept alone at home. My sister is covering for me because I couldn't afford a babysitter and overtime pay at the same time. The missed recitals, the forgotten parent-teacher conferences, the birthday parties where I showed up late, smelling like grease and exhaustion. All of it for a manager who saw me as a convenient scapegoat. I sat in my car, the parking lot empty except for one security light flickering overhead. My phone buzzed, a text from Rain. "Dad, when are you coming home? I made you a card." My chest tightened. How many more times would I disappoint her? How many more nights would I choose this abuse over my daughter's smile? I thought about my father, how he'd worked himself to death in a factory, always saying he was doing it for the family. He died at 47, massive heart attack on the production floor. I was 39. His ghost felt close at that moment. My hands gripped the steering wheel until they shook. How many more times would I endure this? Monday morning, Deborah called me to her office before the lunch shift. The office was a cramped closet with a desk, filing cabinets, and the smell of stale coffee. She sat behind her desk, hands folded, face expressionless. "Close the door, Dexter." I did, my heart already sinking. "I've been thinking about the team dynamic," she started, her voice clinical. "And I can't have drama in my kitchen. The other cooks are complaining that you create tension." "What? I've never. I've made my decision. You're done. Pack your things and leave your keys." The words hit me like a physical blow. My heart stopped beating for a second. Outside the office, I could hear the kitchen coming to life. Burners igniting, pots clanging, Josh laughing about something with Angela. "You're firing me?" Effective immediately. Because I create tension? Or because I won't keep covering for Josh? Her face hardened. "Clean out your locker. I'll mail your final check." I walked out of that office, head down, defeated. The other cooks stopped working when they saw my face. Raymond met my eyes from across the kitchen, and his expression said everything. He'd seen this coming. Josh stood by the grill, getting congratulated by Deborah for stepping up lately. I left through the back door, the alley smelling like garbage and broken dreams. Chapter 3. Walking home took 40 minutes. I couldn't afford the cab, and my car was still in the shop from last month's transmission problem. The night air smelled like grease from the restaurants I passed, and exhaust from the buses rumbling by. Rain's bedtime story echoed in my mind, the one about the little engine that could. I'd failed her tonight. I failed myself. 15 years of experience, and I was unemployed, walking home in my chef's coat like a ghost. My phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. It was Mrs. Patterson, a regular customer from the restaurant. She was a sweet older woman who always requested my cooking specifically. "Dexter, I heard what happened. I'm organizing a charity gala next month. I need a caterer. Interested?" I stopped walking, leaning against a streetlight. The text glowed in the darkness. A tiny spark of hope flickered in my chest. Maybe this wasn't the end. At home, Rain was already asleep. My sister Claire sat on the couch, her laptop open, catching up on work she'd brought home from her office job. "You're late," she said, then saw my face. "What happened?" "I got fired." Claire closed her laptop slowly. "Deborah." I nodded, dropping onto the couch beside her. The weight of the day crashed down all at once. Because of Josh? Because I wouldn't keep being her scapegoat. Claire was quiet for a moment, then stood up. "Come on." "Where?" "The kitchen. You're going to cook." "Claire, No." Her voice was firm. "You're going to cook, and you're going to remember why you fell in love with this in the first place. Before Deborah. Before Josh. Before all of it." I followed her into my tiny apartment kitchen. She pulled out ingredients from the fridge, eggs, butter, vegetables I'd bought on sale last week. "Make me something," she said. "Anything." My hands moved without thinking. I cracked eggs into a bowl and whisked them with cream. I diced peppers and onions, sautéed them until they caramelized. The smell filled the apartment. Garlic, butter, fresh herbs from the windowsill garden Rain and I had planted together. I folded the vegetables into the eggs, creating a perfect omelet. The pan sizzled, the sound almost musical. For the first time in hours, I felt the tension leave my shoulders. Claire took a bite and smiled. There he is. That night, I experimented with new recipes, the kitchen alive with possibilities. Maybe this could be my second chance. Mrs. Patterson's gala was 3 weeks away. I spent every day preparing, testing recipes, and perfecting presentations. Claire helped with costs, lending me money for ingredients. Rain became my taste tester, her honest 7-year-old opinions more valuable than any food critic. "Dad, this one's too salty. This one's perfect." I created a menu: bacon-wrapped dates, mushroom risotto balls, herb-crusted salmon, chocolate mousse with raspberry coulis. Each dish represented my best work, the cooking I'd learned from my father, from Raymond, from 15 years of experience. The morning of the gala, I got a call from an unknown number. "Is this Dexter?" "Speaking." "This is Thomas Wright. I own Riverside Bistro downtown. Mrs. Patterson had me taste your sample menu last week." My heart jumped. Riverside Bistro was one of the most respected restaurants in the city. I dreamed of working there when I first started cooking. She did. "Your mushroom risotto was exceptional. I'm looking for a sous chef." Are you available for an interview? I looked around my apartment, at Rain's drawings on the fridge, at the hope I'd started to rebuild. Yes, I said. I'm available. But part of me hesitated. Was I ready to go back into someone else's kitchen? To trust another boss? Chapter 4. The next day, I walked past my old restaurant on the way to buy supplies. I told myself it was just convenient, the quickest route. But really, I wanted to see. Through the window, chaos unfolded. Deborah stood in the middle of the kitchen, yelling at someone. Orders were backed up on the rail. Josh ran between stations, his face panicked, completely overwhelmed. I watched him drop an entire tray of garnishes. Deborah's face went red. She yelled something I couldn't hear through the glass, and Josh's shoulders slumped. Two line cooks I recognized were trying to handle multiple stations at once. Angela looked exhausted, her usually neat uniform disheveled. I smiled faintly, not from schadenfreude, but from validation. They couldn't handle it without me. All those times Deborah had made me feel replaceable, incompetent, she'd been wrong. A customer walked out of the restaurant, shaking his head and muttering to his companion. 30-minute wait for a sandwich? This word traveled fast in the restaurant industry. Angela called me 2 weeks into my new job. Dexter, it's falling apart here. What happened? Josh burned an entire order for a wedding rehearsal dinner. 40 people. Deborah tried to cover for him, blamed the equipment, but the clients saw right through it. They're demanding a refund. I could picture it, Deborah scrambling, Josh panicking, the kitchen descending into chaos. And she's working double shifts trying to keep up. Raymond's threatening to quit. The health inspector is coming next week, and the kitchen is a disaster. Part of me felt vindicated. Another part, the part that still cared about Raymond and Angela, felt concerned. Tell Raymond to call me if he needs a reference, I said. And Angela, you should start looking too. That ship is sinking. Already started. Thanks, Dexter. After we hung up, I sat on my apartment's small balcony, watching the city lights. Rain was inside, doing homework at the kitchen table, humming to herself. Deborah's mistakes were multiplying, and I hadn't even done anything yet. Chapter 6. The health inspector's visit was scheduled for Thursday. I knew this because Angela texted me the details. She also sent photos of the walk-in cooler, expired ingredients, improper storage, cross-contamination violations that could shut the place down. Dexter, what should I do? She texted. Protect yourself. Document that you raised these concerns to management. Send an email to Deborah, CC yourself. The inspector was known in our industry, strict, thorough, impossible to charm or bribe. If Deborah thought she could sweet-talk her way through violations, she was delusional. I sat with Thomas during our break that afternoon, sipping coffee in his office. You heard about your old place? He asked. A little. The health inspector's going to tear them apart. Word is the kitchen's been a mess since you left. I stayed quiet. Justice has a funny way of working out, Thomas said, smiling into his coffee cup. The opportunity for vindication was arriving, but I didn't need to push it. Deborah was destroying her own restaurant without any help from me. Friday afternoon, Angela called instead of texting. Dexter, I found something. What? Deborah's been hiding health code violations in the stockroom logs. She's been recording expired food as donated when she's actually still using it. There's a whole system. She's been doing it for months. My stomach turned. That wasn't just incompetence. That was fraud. Angela, you need to report that. To who? She owns the place with her brother. Who's going to listen? The health inspector. Bring the logs to the inspection. Anonymously if you have to, but bring them. She was quiet for a moment. I could get fired. You could get sick from working in those conditions. Or worse, customers could. And when that happens, you'll all go down with her. I heard her breathing on the other end. Finally, she said, okay, I'll do it. Evidence was piling up. The timing was perfect, but I couldn't be directly involved. I had to stay clean, professional, above it all. The online reviews started appearing that weekend. One by one, customers posted their experiences from the past month. Food quality has drastically declined. Waited an hour for a simple pasta dish. The service used to be amazing. What happened? One review caught my eye. I used to request Dexter specifically. Since he left, this place isn't the same. Where did he go? Others echoed the sentiment. People asking about me, wondering why the quality had dropped so dramatically. My reputation was building itself without me saying a word. Thomas noticed. "You're getting famous," he joked, showing me his phone. I shrugged. "I just did my job." "Exactly. And people noticed. That's rare." Mrs. Patterson's gala had been a massive success. Photos from the event circulated on social media, my food beautifully plated, guests raving about the quality. She tagged me in every post, crediting me by name. Catering requests started coming in. Birthday parties, corporate events, small weddings. I couldn't handle them all while working at Riverside, but each one built my reputation further. My name was becoming synonymous with quality. Deborah's was becoming synonymous with decline. Chapter 7. At Riverside, I started training junior cooks. Thomas gave me more responsibility, trusting me with menu development, inventory management, staff training. "You're a natural leader," he told me. "You don't rule through fear. You inspire." I taught the young cooks the techniques I'd learned over the years. How to properly sear a steak. The importance of mise en place. Why timing mattered as much as flavor. One kid, barely 19, reminded me of myself at that age. Eager, talented, but lacking confidence. "Chef Dexter, I keep messing up the risotto." "Show me." I watched him work. His technique was fine, but he kept second-guessing himself, adding too much stock, stirring too aggressively. "Stop thinking," I said. "Feel it. Trust your instincts." He tried again, this time letting the rice speak to him. The risotto came out perfect. His face lit up. "I did it." "You did. Because you trusted yourself." That moment reminded me why I love this work. Not the accolades or the reputation, but the pure joy of creating something beautiful and sharing that knowledge with others. Every compliment from Thomas, every successful service, every perfectly executed dish fueled me. The old restaurant could collapse any day, but I was building something better. 2 weeks later, I visited my old restaurant under the pretense of returning some kitchen tools I'd accidentally taken home. It was a Tuesday afternoon, the slow period between lunch and dinner. The place looked different. The floors hadn't been mopped properly. The windows needed cleaning. The once bright atmosphere felt dim, tired. I walked through the dining room with my box of tools. Deborah was in the kitchen, frantically trying to organize a prep station while yelling instructions at Josh, who looked completely lost. "No, not that knife, the other one. And where's the cilantro? We needed cilantro an hour ago." Josh fumbled through the walk-in cooler, emerging empty-handed and confused. Raymond saw me first. His weathered face broke into a genuine smile. "Dexter." "Raymond." "Returning some things." Deborah's head snapped up. Her face went through a series of emotions. Surprise, anger, something that looked almost like relief. "What are you doing here?" "Bringing back your tools." They were mixed in with mine. The kitchen felt wrong. The rhythm was off. Stations were disorganized. The smell wasn't right. Not the clean, hot smell of good cooking, but something stale and desperate. Deborah noticed me noticing. Her face tightened. The health inspection happened Thursday, exactly as scheduled. I heard about it from Angela, who called me that evening, her voice shaking. "Dexter, it was bad. Really bad." "What did they find?" "Everything. The expired food. The cross-contamination. The temperature violations in the walk-in. The inspector went through everything. And the logs." She hesitated. I showed them to him. Anonymously, just like you said. I imagined the scene. The inspector, clipboard in hand, documenting violation after violation. Deborah, trying to explain, making excuses, blaming equipment, blaming staff. They're getting fined. Heavily. And they have 2 weeks to fix everything or they lose their license. "What about you? Are you safe?" "I'm looking for other work." Raymond already got hired at a place across town. He put in a good word for me. I felt relieved. The people who'd been caught in Deborah's dysfunction were finding their way out. Good. You deserve better, Angela. The next morning, I saw Deborah at the grocery store. She was buying industrial-sized containers of cleaning supplies, her face haggard, dark circles under her eyes. She saw me in the checkout line. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then she looked away, ashamed. Chapter 8. Josh made his final mistake on social media. He posted a photo on Instagram. One of my signature dishes, the mushroom risotto that Mrs. Patterson had loved, the one that got me hired at Riverside. The caption read, "New recipe I created. So proud of this one. Hashtag chef life, hashtag my creation." Except it wasn't his creation. It was mine, down to the specific herbs I used, the way I plated it, everything. Several people commented immediately. Isn't this Dexter's dish? I've seen this before. Pretty sure you didn't create this, bro. Josh deleted the post within an hour, but screenshots lived forever. Someone sent them to me, asking if I wanted to set the record straight. I didn't respond publicly. I just saved the screenshots, added them to my documentation file. Karma was doing the work for me. I didn't need to fight dirty. Thomas saw the post before Josh deleted it. That kid's got some nerve. Yeah. Want me to say something? I know people. No. Let it go. His reputation's building itself just fine without my help. And it was. Every stolen recipe, every lie, every shortcut was creating a digital trail that would follow Josh for years. The restaurant's decline accelerated. Deborah started pressuring the remaining staff to work longer hours, cover more stations, and hide more mistakes. The stress was visible in everyone's faces. Angela finally quit, taking a position at the restaurant where Raymond had landed. They were both happier, both thriving in environments that valued their skills. Dexter, you saved us. Angela told me over coffee one Saturday. If you hadn't encouraged me to document everything, I'd still be there, drowning. You saved yourself. I just reminded you of your worth. But Deborah kept pushing, kept demanding, kept covering for Josh. Staff turnover became constant. New hires would last a week before quitting. The kitchen became a revolving door of inexperienced cooks trying to learn while Deborah yelled and Josh fumbled. Reviews continued to plummet. The restaurant dropped from 4 stars to 2. Customers stopped coming. The dining room that used to be packed every night sat half empty. Everyone was on edge. Deborah knew she was losing control, and desperation made her worse. I watched from a distance, building my own success while her empire crumbled. The health department returned for a follow-up inspection. Deborah had 2 weeks to fix everything. She'd fixed almost nothing. The violations remained. Some had actually gotten worse. The fine tripled. They were given one final chance. Fix everything within 7 days or face permanent closure. The news spread through the restaurant community instantly. Other chefs, owners, suppliers, everyone knew. Deborah's reputation was destroyed. Her panic became public. She started calling other chefs, begging for help, offering money she probably didn't have. Most refused. Word had spread about how she treated her staff. One chef told me. She called asking for advice. I told her to start by treating people with respect. She hung up on me. The restaurant was bleeding money. Staff were quitting faster than they could be replaced. Suppliers were demanding payment up front. Customers were canceling reservations. Josh, still oblivious to his role in the disaster, posted another Instagram story complaining about difficult times in the industry. The comments tore him apart. Deborah couldn't hide the truth anymore. Everything was exposed, public, undeniable. Chapter 9. I ran into Deborah at a restaurant supply store. She was looking at cheap replacement equipment, trying to salvage what was left. Dexter. Her voice was different. Smaller. The arrogance was gone. Deborah. We stood in the commercial cookware aisle, surrounded by pots and pans, neither of us knowing what to say. Finally, she spoke. I know what you're thinking. Do you? That I deserve this. That I brought it on myself. I considered lying, being polite. But she didn't deserve that. Yeah, I said. You did. She flinched. I was trying to help Josh. He's my sister's kid, and she asked me to give him a chance. At my expense. At Angela's expense. At the expense of everyone who actually earned their place in that kitchen. I know. Do you? Because you didn't just hurt me, Deborah. You hurt your business. Your reputation. Every customer who got substandard food. Every health code you violated. She looked down at the shopping cart, half filled with cheap supplies. I was wrong, she said quietly. About you. About everything. I pulled out my phone, opened the documentation file I'd kept. Screenshots, photos, dates, times. Everything. I could destroy you with this, I said. Send it to every food blogger, every review site, every supplier in the city. Her face went pale. But I won't. She looked up, confused. Because you're already destroyed. And I don't need revenge. I have something better, success. I walked away, leaving her standing there. The restaurant closed 3 days later. The health department revoked their license permanently. Too many violations, too little effort to correct them. The building went up for sale within a week. Josh was demoted quietly. meaning Deborah finally admitted he couldn't handle the responsibility she'd given him. But it didn't matter. There was no restaurant left to work at. I heard through Raymond that Deborah received an official reprimand from the Restaurant Owners Association. Her chances of managing another kitchen were essentially zero. Josh returned to community college, his brief chef career over before it started. The staff scattered to other restaurants. Most found better positions, better environments. Some even thanked me for inspiring them to leave. I didn't celebrate their downfall. I just noted it, filed it away, and moved forward. Thomas called me into his office that Friday. "Dexter, I've been approached by the Grandview Hotel. They're opening a new restaurant in their renovations. They need a head chef." My heart jumped. "Head chef? I recommended you. The pay is nearly double what you're making here. Full benefits. Creative control over the menu." Thomas sighed. "You've earned this. Take the meeting. If they offer it, take the job. You're ready." I attended the meeting. They offered the position. I accepted. Chapter 10. The Grandview's restaurant opened 4 months later. I named it Dexter's Table, simple and honest. The menu featured elevated comfort food, dishes that reminded people of home, but executed with technique and creativity. We opened to rave reviews. The food critics praised the confident simplicity and masterful execution. Customers lined up for reservations. I hired carefully, building a team that shared my values. Respect, quality, integrity, no nepotism, no shortcuts. Angela became my sous chef. Raymond, though retired, consulted on the menu. We built something real, something earned. Former coworkers from Deborah's restaurant came to eat, congratulated me, told me they always knew I'd succeed. Mrs. Patterson became a regular, bringing her friends, spreading the word. One evening, during service, I looked around my kitchen. Every person is working hard, supporting each other, creating something beautiful together. This was what cooking should be. Deborah and Josh were nowhere in my world. Their mistakes had consequences they'd earned. My integrity had rewards I'd earned. 6 months after opening Dexter's Table, I started a small catering company on the side. Just me, handling private events, building relationships, creating experiences. Rain helped sometimes, learning to plate desserts, giggling as she arranged strawberries with artistic precision. "Dad, is this good?" "Perfect, sweetheart." The catering business grew. Corporate events, weddings, anniversary parties, each one a success, each one building my reputation further. Former coworkers reached out, asking for jobs, references, and advice. I helped when I could, remembering how Raymond had helped me. Deborah attempted to open a small cafe across town. It closed within 3 months. Josh tried starting a food truck. It lasted 2 weeks. I didn't follow their failures. I focused on my success. Claire quit her office job to manage my catering business full-time. "I'm tired of spreadsheets," she said. "Let's build something together." Rain drew new pictures for my office, stick figures of our family, all smiling, all together. I framed every single one. From afar, people watched. Former customers, former colleagues, people who'd witnessed Deborah's favoritism and my quiet competence. They saw me thrive. And Deborah couldn't intervene. She had no power, no influence, no credibility left. A year after being fired, I picked Rain up from school on a Friday afternoon. She ran to the car, backpack bouncing, gap-toothed smile brighter than ever. "Dad, guess what?" "What, sweetheart?" "My teacher asked what you do, and I said you're a famous chef. She wants to bring her class to your restaurant." Pride swelled in my chest. Not pride from fame or success, but from seeing my daughter's eyes light up when she talked about me. We drove home, singing along to the radio, her small voice mixing with mine. That evening, I cooked dinner at home. Just simple pasta, nothing fancy. Rain helped, stirring the sauce, tasting it with a serious expression. "I need more salt, Dad." "You're right. Good palate." We ate together, talking about her day, her friends, her dreams. The restaurant disasters felt like ancient history. Deborah's betrayal was a distant memory. I was respected in my industry, financially stable, happy. Rain was thriving, secure, loved. Integrity and skill had won. Deborah's favoritism had failed. Josh's shortcuts had caught up with him. The journey from that Friday night, fixing Josh's mistakes while my daughter waited at home, to this moment, eating pasta with my kid, running my own restaurant, living without fear or resentment, Felt like a lifetime. But it was just 1 year. 1 year of choosing dignity over desperation, quality over compromise, truth over convenience. Rain reached across the table, her small hand touching mine. Dad, you're the best chef in the whole world. Thanks, sweetheart. No, really. Because your food tastes like love. I squeezed her hand, tears threatening. This was a success. Not the reviews or the reputation. This, right here, full circle justice, earned through patience, skill, and refusing to compromise who I was. I'd taken over more than a kitchen. I'd taken over my own life. And it tasted perfect.